Welcome to Loving Me Before I Love You with Tammy Nicole, the podcast dedicated to you loving and putting yourself first. Others have come first in your life for years, and you know it's time for that to change. You're about to be empowered to set healthy boundaries, confidently have hard conversations, unapologetically put yourself first, and live the peaceful life you deserve. Remember, self-love is essential, and loving yourself sets the stage for every other love in your life. So get ready to embrace self-love like never before with your host, Coach Tammy Nicole.
Hey, welcome back to Loving Me Before I Love You. It is again Transformation Tuesday, where we transform everything through the power of self-love. This episode is no different, right? So today's a little special. I have a special guest with me. We are still in the month of July, so we are still doing everything from independence and freedom. And we are working on our independence as women and just breaking free from the norms. I have my lovely cousin, Miss Markecha Love. She is not new to this family. She is a returning guest. So, Markecha is a dynamic and engaging speaker. She is known for inspiring audience with her insightful perspective and practical advice. She brings a wealth of knowledge and expertise when it comes to the mental health and well-being of self. Markecha is a wife. She's a mother of 2 boys. She's an entrepreneur. She's an Army veteran, a speaker, and social media influencer. She is also the CEO of She Chose Her, where her mission is to equip women for all walks of life with the tools to foster the mindset that conquers the plague of negative emotions women find themselves most susceptible to. Through discussions and practical applications of the truth, she always talks about the truth, y'all. If you ain't addressing the truth, she don't really want to hear it. She walks you hand by hand through their journey to the best self. Welcome to the show, Keish. And shall I say welcome back?
Hey, y'all. Hey, cousin. Hey, Miss Tam. How you doing today?
I'm doing good. So you ready to tell
Hello,
the people?
audience. Hello, family.
Right. Are you ready to tell the people how you break free from your societal norms? Are you ready? Are you ready?
Yes. I am ready to let y'all know how I do not do it the way other people do it.
That's right. Today's episode is Breaking Free from Societal Change, Redefining Womanhood on My Own Terms. And Keisha has done that. I've watched it. I've witnessed it firsthand and from afar. So we're going to dive in. We ain't going to hold the people because y'all know how I do. Get right to it.
I'm ready. Let's get it.
All right. So look, the first question, what inspired you to break free?
Ooh, let me tell you. I honestly feel like I came out the womb ready to wreck stuff, honestly. I think I've always been different. I remember reading T.D. Jakes has a book called Disruptive Thinker. And when I read that book, I was like, oh, this is me. This is me. I like to do the stuff that people won't do. I like to step out and say what the people won't say, try what the people won't try, reach what the people won't reach. Like I like to push it till I can't push it because I don't believe there's limits. God said there are no limits when He's in it. And so I'm really big on faith, but no, I really have always just been one of those people that I want everything that the world has to offer to me, and I don't want myself or people to limit me when it comes to that. So
I get it. I get that. So when you decided, so let's look back at before living the life you live currently, right? Like you currently are living free and walking in your purpose. Prior to that, what led to that point? What led you to the point of saying, you know what? I got to do it this way.
Honestly, if I'm being completely honest, it came to a point where I found myself being a really, really big people's pleaser. Yeah, I wasn't probably, I was like maybe 29. So 29, I decided I was going to go to therapy and I was going to get some stuff together because my life was, in a sense, to other people like, oh, she has a good life because I had made this thing where I was going to go to the military and I was going to do all these cool things. But I found myself when I got to a place where I really wanted to break through to know what was my next step. I felt like I had did everything. And it really wasn't the fact that I had did everything. It was just the fact that I had let other people limit me to what I could do.
Mm-hmm.
So, at the age of like 29, I finally was like, man, I didn't police, I didn't in the military. Like, what is there to do in life based off of what I was taught?
Mm-hmm.
So I finally came to a place. I was like, you know what? I need to do something different. Because trying to please everybody and doing what people think I should be doing is not pleasing to me. I found myself depressed and anxiety, not really satisfied with the life that I felt like I had chosen for myself. So I switched it up. I changed things around.
Yeah, I think a lot of times when we are people, well, let me not just say when we are people pleasers, but when I think about us as women as a whole, a lot of times we are dictated into what we do. And we lose sight of who we are because we're so busy pleasing other people. Um, we think that how we're supposed to show up is based upon what other people have said. And we have
Right.
allowed those people's voices to drown out our own, that the process of even walking in your truth is almost like a rebirth, because you have to get to know who the heck you are. You get to figure out what's your voice, what you sound like, what's your decisions look like based upon you and not based upon trying to do it because so and so said this is what they think is best that you do. You know what I mean?
No, like no, that's absolutely right. That come and I always tell myself I had to unlearn a lot of things that I was taught. And not in a negative way because when you're raised, your parents teach you what they know. But then you get into this age and then you realize I really don't know who I am because I only know what was taught to me. Like I only know the tradition. And imagine a lot of people having these traditions and they really don't know where they come from. They're just doing it because that's what they were taught.
Mm-hmm.
So when I finally came to this place where I'm not going to necessarily say I just felt like I was a people pleaser, I was more so like if I was always taught to do what people told you to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like always respect your elders. So if they say something, say yes, do this, do that, act a certain way. When you're here, this is how you should present yourself. And not necessarily always understanding the norms to why I have to present myself in that way. Who says
Mm-hmm.
that? But also like for me, it'll be traditional for the family, but it doesn't have a root to it. And when I say that is a lot of people do a lot of things they don't understand because there's no root to it. Like there's no truth to it.
Know why?
And that was me. That's how I was like, it got to make sense to me.
Yeah.
So life started not making sense. So I started doing stuff differently. Like I really was like, no, it has to make sense to me, and that doesn't make sense to why I'm doing it like that. So let me read and figure it out. So then when I started reading and figuring out stuff, I'm already kind of bold in my thinking. So I started like just shooting it.
Walking
And
in
it
it.
was
Yeah.
like literally walking it out. And people was just like, girl, even my parents thought I was crazy at one point.
I
In a
believe
good
it.
way. But no,
Right.
they even was like, I don't know what she got going on. Just trust the process though.
Trust in the process is always the struggle, because I always tell people you have to do everything scared, right? Like you don't necessarily know what's happening, when it's happening, how it's happening. But if you just simply do it scared, step out, don't worry about the outcome, just worry about the journey. It makes it a
Right.
lot easier when you're doing it, right? So during
Right.
your time and the journey, what were some of the biggest obstacles that you faced?
Oh, Jesus. Okay, so man, I always tell people like the journey is not what you expect it to be. And when I say that, when I originally sat down on the bed and I was like, God, this is what I'm gonna do, and this is what we gonna do, and I'm gonna trust you.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really know what I was saying because it was really like I'm trusting you to not know anything, like not know which way to go, what to do. I'm literally gonna depend on you. And what that started with was like I always tell people, like, for one, be careful what you ask for because you don't know what that comes with. But for me, it started with isolation. So the whole thing about going into the wilderness and being out there by yourself, you don't wander out there by yourself alone. It's not like I woke up one day and was like, hey, I'm going to isolate myself. I'm going to go in this wilderness and be out here. No, it's like when
Mm-hmm.
you start to make those changes, those adjustments, people start to be, they start to
Walking away.
walking away. It's like, and before you know it, you're like, bam, I'm isolated. I'm by myself. So then you go through this questionable self-doubt thing. Like,
Mm-hmm.
wow, I know when I was doing it my way, I still wasn't getting the results. And now I'm trying to do it a different way. And I'm seeing the results, but the people that was there with me when I barely, when they leaving me. So that was one of those things. That was a hard struggle for me, isolation, because I love people. I'm a people's person. I
Yeah.
love them at their worst, at their best. You don't meet a lot of genuine people in the world, but a lot of people, when they hear Markecha Love, they know for a fact, like, she's a genuine person. Her
Mm-hmm.
heart is really genuine. So it hurt me to the core. Like, I would cry several nights. Like, I would be telling my husband, like, I just don't understand, like, why they not talking to me? And it was a part of the journey.
Yeah.
It was like that isolation thing was a part of the journey. So then you got to go through the hurt thing because now you isolated, but now you hurt. And now you got to understand the hurt. So then you're hurting, but you got to process it.
Mm-hmm.
You got to go through the process. But in the process, you got to heal because there's things that you got to do to understand why you're going through that. So the journey was like literally being in a pit of hell, but then coming out on the other side, not smelling like smoke, literally smelling like victory, smelling
Mm-hmm.
like, oh my God, like, look at me now. Like, and it was, my apostle said something, one message. He was like, we need the bitter moments because
Absolutely.
the sweet moments are promised, but we need those bitter moments because the bitter moments is what make us. So even though those moments sucked and I did not know what I was walking into, I needed it because it really made me, like, and it's still making me because I still have bitter moments as I'm walking on this journey of defining myself. Because then people are like, well, who do you think you are? Like, because you're so bold now. They think you're feeling yourself, but you're really not. You're just like, I'm just walking with, y'all can't put limits on me because I know what my God has said about me. So now that I know, y'all can't trick me out my spot. And I think people, when you come into that thing, like when you really come into that no, people start to think you think you're better, but you don't. It's just like I know my worth and my value into to the person who only can put me in two places. And when you take the limits off what people say, what people think about you, man, oh my God. Man, if you can free your mind from the thoughts of other people, Jesus.
It makes a whole world of
I
difference.
mean, major, major,
That is the
major.
biggest mind shift that people have to make when pursuing their own self discoveries. It's like you have to be willing to say, I know me, period.
Period. It's like
There's
no
no, there's
explanation.
no,
It's a sentence.
right. It's a complete sentence. It's not a I know me, but what you think.
No.
No, it's I know me, period.
Do you know you? Like,
Right. And you said something that was really, great. Like once you know who he says you are, right? Like, that's the most important, because a lot of times we will look to people to validate us and affirm us and make us what they want.
But he's already affirmed
But he's
us.
already done it.
He's already made us what we want.
He
But the thing
wants,
about it, let
yep.
me tell you, I love it. I call it like a game. I love God because with him it's like trivia. He has all the answers and he gives you the open book test.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to be willing to go and seek and find and dive and like figure it out. Or you can use, like, I remember I made a status probably like 2 weeks ago. I'm like, you spend so much time talking to your mama, cousin, brother, sister, auntie about a problem they can't fix when you really could talk to him and
Who
he can
have
fix
all
it
the
like that.
answer.
He can give you
Yeah.
the resources. He can give you the words. And I'm just like, when you unlock that, no man in this earth, no matter if it's in a career, whether, I mean, I still work a 9 to 5 job. Like on top of me being an entrepreneur, I still work a 9 to 5 job. So I still deal with people. I work for a bank. So I deal with people. So you realize that people are going to be people all
All
day,
day.
every day. Susie gonna smile at you today. She may be angry with you tomorrow. You got to understand, people gonna change. People are gonna be people. But when you understand your worth, even when Susie speak to you next week, but not the week after that, you go in there still, hey girl, like,
Right. You still stay in your own truth.
still you.
Yeah.
You still you. So when you don't have that, you'll waver, you'll switch with anything. That's why I think it's funny when people be like, oh, you so bold and confident. Yeah, because I got me. Because just in case you want to act crazy today, I don't need you acting crazy, making me acting crazy. Okay.
Right.
So I have to know who I am and I have to show up in that and I have to choose that every moment of every hour, every day.
Yeah.
And I have to seek it and I have to look for it and I have to yearn for it. It's something that you have to do. But that goes back to wanting that for you. Because honestly, it's really saying, how much do you love yourself? How much are you seeking after yourself? Because the whole goal and the whole discovery, and I think people miss that with God, is really you
Yeah.
because he's in you. So really, all the work of the seeking and the finding is unlocking gems about yourself.
Absolutely.
So I always call it's like a game. It's like, oh
Yeah.
my God, I get to spend time with you because I get to unlock things about me that
Which
you
is
helped me
spending time with
discover.
yourself. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. See, self-awareness and self-love are like super important when you are discovering yourself and breaking free from everybody else's identity of you or their thought of you or how you are in here to do, whatever they think you're supposed to do. Right. So when I look at, or when I teach women myself, like when I teach them how to be self-aware, most people are not aware of how they show up. Most people are not aware of the energy that they bring. Most people are just not aware of their space. How much space do you occupy when you walk into a room? You need to know what that is so that when somebody else, because it's energy, right? It's an energy exchange. When somebody else's energy is already present and you walk in there, can you sense the shift? You know what I mean? Like, but you have to be self-aware to do that.
There you go. You got to be in tune with you. You
And a
got to
lot of
be
us are not. So how did you learn what that was when you were on this journey? When you were like, oh, I'm in the wilderness and I'm trying to figure this thing out. How did you go like, oh, boom, that's you. Oh, okay, Keisha, I see. That's how you oh, okay. How did you do that?
and it was okay. So it was one of those things where I can't really say I did it. I think I did the work, but I think
Mm-hmm.
God was revealing it to me. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm all about fresh revelations, and He gives us them. Like He even gave me a fresh revelation even after Mother's Day for myself. But just going in there and dealing with it, it was more so like when you spend that time with yourself, we always talk about the angel and the devil on your shoulder, those voices you hear,
Mm-hmm.
those things are real. You hear them. And depending on what you're feeding yourself, one is going to overpower the other. And so because I was feeding myself things of good good nurturing, like the Word of God,
Yes.
knowledge books, help books, leadership books, because I was feeding that thing when I was growing, and he would be like, remember when you used to do this? This is what you should have been doing. I'm like, that's who you is. And we always have a thought, and that's why I finally got to the point. I used to talk a whole lot, like a lot, like I love to talk, but God had put me in a place where he was like, you need to shut up. But he was saying that so I could hear
Here.
what I needed to hear. Because sometimes you could talk so much and you can't hear,
Yeah, you miss it.
you're missing it. So when I finally got to that point where I knew that was something I needed to hear, and I started hearing it, and he was like, you've been doing it this way, but that's because that's how you've been doing it, but you haven't been hearing me. So now I want you to do it this way, and you're going to get a different return. And when I could start hearing him say, based off of what I was feeding myself, based off what I was reading, what I was, and the thing about it is, I tell people all the time, you got to get knowledge for yourself. You can't get knowledge based off of what she said or he said, because eventually the story gonna get twisted. But like down the road, it's gonna change. And so you have to sometimes go and seek the knowledge for yourself. And so when I started seeking the knowledge for myself and I started understanding, I was like, wow, it started shifting my mindset. And as it shifted my mindset, it started shifting my actions. And as my actions started shifting, it started shifting like what I was feeding myself. So it started shifting my vocabulary. It started shifting my environment. It just started being like a ripple effect.
Mm-hmm.
As I started to change one thing, little things, he would start to expose little things about myself. And I'll be like, you know what? I don't even like that. Like, one thing I found, like, this is the most craziest thing that people have about me. They think because I'm so friendly that I love being around people. I love being by myself. And a lot of people do not think that about me because they be like, oh, you are a speaker. You be speaking on all these platforms. And when I'm done, I go in my little box. Like, it's like I go in my little shell. And it's like almost like people don't know that about me because they see my energy and what I give out and how I'm always like just, but then when I come back in, it's just like, no, I got to go. Like, I love being by myself. I enjoy being by myself. Like, I
That's your
don't like being
recharge.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I don't like being in crowds. I'm a more of a one-on-one person, or at least one or two other people. But when it gets a lot of people, I'm very intimate. And a lot of people don't think that about me because they see me on these platforms and they see me talking and they be like, "Oh, she's just so sweet and friendly and nice." But I'm very intentional. I'm very intimate. And it's because of that. It's because of being able to hear. You can't hear in a crowd. I don't care
Yeah.
what you can't.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, that would be determined about knowing who you are, right? Like, so that doesn't mean that everybody needs to be like real
Right.
intimate, whatever, but that's your journey. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
just being able to identify what that looks like for you.
Hey, hope you're feeling the love in today's episode. We'll pick back up where we left off in a moment. First, we're excited to share that Tammy has a collection of self-love t-shirts, hoodies, mugs, and journals for you to express how much you love yourself to the world. From comfy hoodies to motivational mugs, there's something for everyone. While you're listening to today's show, feel free to browse the full collection at IamTammyNicole.com. Thank you, and without further ado, let's get back into today's show.
So people find it hard to balance, right, between tradition and your own path. Do you, and you already talked about it a little bit, but do you think that you have denounced tradition in totality to start your own path, or do you think that you do the balance thing, like I take a little bit of this and I do my own thing over here?
Um It's so funny that you asked me that, because that is a conversation me and my husband have all the time. Cause I be like, you real traditional, like, sir. And I'm really like, whatever is gonna work, it's gonna work. Like, I'm not, a lot of people, like, even me being married, and my husband is very quiet and I'm very vocal. But I'm like, I speak and I'm in public. So a lot of people are just like, I mean, where the kids? I'm like, they with their daddy. A lot of people feel like, oh, as the mama, you're supposed to be doing everything. But I'm like, well, no, I gotta go do this. So I can't be cooking and cleaning. Da, 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 da. Like, this is we mix it up. Like,
We're a
in our
partnership.
household, we mix it up. I'm not the only one cleaning bathrooms at our house. We have an understanding that works for us. I'm not the only one cooking at our house. It works for us. Truth be told, my husband understands order, so he is a firm believer in being the provider, because we believe in God, so we still believe in the biblical truth and traditions. But that made up stuff where they say a woman supposed to do this and a man supposed to do this, and a man,
You don't
we live by,
subscribe.
right, there you go. We live by, I wouldn't say I'm traditional or free spirit. I would really say that I try to live my life on the terms that God says we're supposed to. Like, and it doesn't, man has put those things in categories to a certain extent. Like, the woman is supposed to be the provider and the nurturer, and she's supposed to
Mhm.
do that. And the man can't do that. They don't have it in them. So, like, that is the role that I'm supposed to play. So that's the role that I play within my house. But then when we start to break down, some people be like, well, your husband should put gas in your car. I mean, he's a provider. He pay all the bills. Why he got to put gas in my car? Like, so when we start to break those things down and we start to go into that, like, I don't play all that. Like, it has to make sense. And when I say it has to make sense, it has to have a biblical reference to it and some type of truth. If it don't, I'm not
Not
doing it.
subscribing.
No, it's
I,
it's gonna be a no for me.
I
Like,
get it.
okay, and I'm gonna give you this quick example real quick. I love my daddy. Me and my daddy have the best relationship now. We was having a conversation a couple of weeks ago, and we were just talking about yes ma'am and no ma'am.
Hmm.
And we were talking about calling people Mrs. and Mister. And, I was telling him that I felt like I didn't have to, if I want to call you by your first name, even as an adult, I could do that. I don't have to be like Miss such and such or Miss this, this, and this. And, his whole thing was like, well, you're supposed to respect your elders by calling them Mrs. and that. I said, no, God says, honor thy mother and thy father in the earth, and your days will be long. I said, man said that I have to call you Mr. or Mrs. You said that you feel respected if I put a Mr. or Mrs. on there. That don't have nothing to do with me, whether if I call you Tammy or I call you Miss Tammy, that should not change if you think I respect you or not.
That
And
part.
that's what we were having a conversation about. And I was trying to tell him, see, there go me being a disruptor again. I was trying to tell him, I was like, Daddy, we're gonna have to agree to disagree, because if I said that's a personal thing, if you feel like me saying Tammy or Miss Tammy means I don't respect you. And that's something that people should probably deal with within themselves. And I
Yeah.
wasn't being rude. I
No.
wasn't being disrespectful. The truth says, honor thy mother and thy father and the earth, and your days will be long. Now, yes, I'm marriageable. So, yes, I can say yes, ma'am, or no, ma'am, or yes, I can say Mr. or Mrs., but that shouldn't fall under if I respect you or not. And that was my thing. I was like, no, I could call Tracy Tracy, and I still respect her. I can have the utmost respect for her.
Yeah.
I'm gonna call my mother, because I respect her, and I ain't finna call her Shantae, like,
Right.
because that's her name. And so that's what we were, and and I told him, I said, Daddy, I understand what you're saying, and I could do that because I understood what he was saying.
Yeah. But
Um, but
I guess the real question would come into how in being your authentic self and discovering living according to the rules that you want to live by, how do you incorporate the other people around you and their rules and regulations for how they like to live? So it's like you just gave a great example. How do you comply with that? Do you say, okay, because for you it's respectful for me to say Mr., I will say Mr. to you.
Right.
But the other persons around you would have to be given that, like, hey,
Right. I'm
you have
not
to
gonna,
tell
right,
me.
you have to give me. So this goes back to respecting people.
And what they
So you
want.
can, you know what I'm saying? I can have my opinion and you can have your opinion. But if I respect you in the way that you want to be respected. So I'm going to call you Mr. because I respect you. I think for me is I've always been taught in your house, it's your rules. So I got to respect your rules. But when you come to my house, it's my rules.
Yeah.
I don't come to your house trying to tell you what you do at your house.
Right.
So you won't come to my house and try to tell me what to do at my house. And that goes back to thinking. I'm not going to force my thinking on you.
Facts.
And I'm not going to allow you to force your thinking on me. But we can find a common ground to where we can meet. So guess what? When I find myself in a room with people where I think over them, I conform to their level of thinking. Do I dumb myself down? Absolutely not. That means I just won't talk as much in that circle.
Right.
And I'll just, make myself, I'm not going to say big in the room because I feel like most of the time when I go in a room, I know I'm the light. So I almost feel like I'm big. But what I do is I really try to be intentional to respect whoever has the power in that room. Because even though I have a light on me, if I was to come to your event, you're that light in that room. So it's being able to adjust to people,
Yeah.
whether you agree to them or not.
Absolutely.
Because you could put on, like we were previously talking about, like you may put on a conference and it's your conference, but you may want me to come and pray. My only job in that room, because we're servers first, and I think
Right.
people forget that. They forget that. That's why I can serve you by calling you a mister. But that's all you wanted me to do. So I'm gonna go in that room and that's what I'm gonna do. And I ain't gonna have no opinion about, oh, she should have did this and didn't do that. Because that's not what you brought me in the room for. And I think that's another thing that people have to learn too. People have to be self-aware of the environments they are in, self-aware of themselves and what
Yeah.
they like, but they also have to be self-aware of what they're there for, to not to miss it, because sometimes you can miss it trying to overpart or do too much.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to just do exactly what you do. So for me, when it comes to people, even though I know I can be a disruptor, I just found that I find the medium in those. I observe the room, like you said, I make myself aware,
Yeah.
and I find a medium because some people are really triggered. Girl, you'll be surprised how many people are upset that you don't think like them.
Oh
And
yes.
I'm mindful of those people too, because you'll find yourself in a disarray with them if you aren't aware, because they'll get you routed up.
All the time. All the time.
So I just meet people where they are.
That's it right there. Meet them where they are and don't let them take you where they want to go.
There you go. I'm gonna
So
pull you up, but I'm not gonna pull
yeah,
me
you
back.
ain't there, that part right
Yeah.
there. Yes. So thank you so much. I want you to give some final words to our listeners in reference to what they should do if they're hesitant or unsure about embracing their true selves.
Like if I'm being fully transparent, and I'll tell y'all like I tell my women of She Chose Her, it's almost like saying you're gonna live for somebody else, but not live for you. That you're gonna lay your life down to literally live for somebody else and not live for you. I would be a fool if I spent my whole life living for everybody else and never taking advantage to live for myself. So my advice really would really be to, one, know yourself. and strip yourself of every label, every title, every name, everything that somebody tried to put on you, and figure out who you are by who created you. And if you can understand that and you can get your worth, then you won't conform to nothing, because you'll be like, nobody can give me what he's already given. So that would be my advice. I don't want to live a life to where I'm literally saying I live this life for somebody else. No, when I die, it's gonna be me and the good Lord up there in them pearly gates. And I want to be like, I want him to say, job well done, based off of what I did, not
Right.
based off of what I was trying to do to please everybody else.
Well, y'all heard it here. She told you what to do. Now make sure you do it. Now, Keisha, before we get done, tell them where they can find you.
Yes, yes, yes. Y'all, definitely look for me on all social media platforms under Markecha Love. You can also find me on Instagram, Facebook, as well as TikTok under Markecha Love. And you can find my organization on Instagram and Facebook at She Chose Her. On Instagram is she_chose_her. And on Facebook it's just She Chose Her. And that's how you can find me. Y'all follow. I comment. I'm a supporter. So just know, if you shoot me, follow me, I follow back. I like, I share, I comment, I support. I even buy. So, hey.
Well, you heard it. We have transformed this Tuesday into not doing things according to societal norms.
Yeah, we doing it a whole.
Thanks, Keish.
Taking it up around here. Thank you. Thanks for having me, Tam.
Awesome. See y'all next week.
That's a wrap on another episode of Loving Me Before I Love You. If you enjoyed today's episode, please take a second to show your support by subscribing and leaving a positive rating and review on Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. Stay connected with Tammy. Make sure you're following her on Instagram and TikTok at Coach Tammy Nicole. If you like to work with Tammy or have any questions you'd like her to answer, please head over to www.IamTammyNicole.com. Until next time, always remember to love yourself so much that the love from others is a bonus.